Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're zeroing in on a really fascinating period,
Yeah.
1200 to 1450.
Absolutely transformative.
Yeah, because this wasn't a world of, isolated pockets. It was actually an era of intense connection across Afro-Eurasia.
Driven by these powerful networks of exchange.
Exactly. And we should think of these not just as trade routes for, like, spices or silk.
No, much more than that. They were conduits for ideas, for technologies, even, unfortunately, for diseases.
We've got a lot of great historical reviews to dig into for this, so let's get started.
Sounds good. What's really striking out this era, I think, is how these networks just fundamentally reshape societies.
Oh, sure.
We'll be hitting the big ones today. The Silk Roads, obviously.
Just those.
The Mongol Empire's role, which is maybe a bit surprising.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle.
Then the Indian Ocean trade, massive.
Okay.
And the trans-Saharan routes in Africa.
Right. And our goal here really is to unpack the dynamics. What fueled all this connection?
Mm-hmm.
What were the effects, the consequences, good and bad?
And for you listening, it's about understanding how these historical links, well, they really laid the groundwork for the interconnected world we live in now.
Exactly. Some really compelling stuff here. Okay, let's dive in. First up, the Silk Roads.
The classic image, right? Camels and silk.
Right. But, as we said, it's a much richer story.
Absolutely. The boom in Silk Road trade wasn't just about wanting fancy fabrics. Our sources really point to big leaks in commercial practices, how business was done.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about money economies. Especially in China, you see the introduction of paper money.
Which must have been a game changer. Instead of lugging around coins.
Exactly. So much more convenient, lighter. It just makes trade easier over long distances.
That makes sense. And I guess that spurred other ideas.
It did. You see the growth of credit systems. The Chinese had something called flying money.
Flying money?
Yeah, basically merchants could deposit money in one place and get proof, like a note, to withdraw it somewhere else.
Ah, okay. So less risk, less weight. Streamlines things.
Massively. And then building on that, you get the rise of banks, banking houses, using things like bills of exchange.
Early checks, almost.
Sort of, yeah. Promissory notes, again, making large transactions possible without hauling chests of gold and silver everywhere. Less danger on the road.
So these financial tools were like greasing the wheels of commerce.
You could say that. And alongside finance, you had transportation getting better, too.
Right, the caravanserai.
Yeah, those roadside inns. More than just a place to sleep, though.
How so?
Well, they were safe havens, first of all. But they also became these incredible melting pots. Merchants from all over would meet, exchange news, ideas, culture. Not just goods.
Little hubs of interaction?
Definitely. And don't forget the tech side of transport, like better saddles.
Saddles. Seem small.
But think about it, especially for camels. Better saddles meant they could carry more weight more comfortably for longer distances. A huge boost to efficiency.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. So finance and transport innovations are driving this. And what were the effects?
Profound effects. You see the rise of these major trading cities, key points along the routes.
Like Kashgar.
Exactly. Kashgar, out west in modern China, it was where several branches of the Silk Road met up, had river access too, which was rare in that dry area.
So a vital pit stop.
Vital. But it also grew into a major center for Islamic scholarship and culture.
Wow. And Samarkand too, right?
Oh, Samarkand was huge. Central Asia. Our sources talk about it being this incredible crossroads. You had Christians, Zoroastrians, Buddhists, Muslims, all interacting there.
Imagine the buzz in those markets. The exchange of ideas must have been incredible.
For sure. And then there's the demand for the goods themselves. Luxury stuff.
Chinese silk, porcelain, everyone wanted it.
Right. And that demand fueled production back in China, but also Persia, India. In China, especially around the Yangtze River, you even see areas start specializing in silk instead of food crops.
Really? That's significant.
It is. It suggests a move towards, well, maybe proto-industrialization, large-scale production for export, not just local use. China's iron and steel output also grew to support all this.
So the desire for luxuries could actually reshape whole economies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just silk and porcelain moving. Ideas traveled too.
Religions.
Yep. Islam spread, Buddhism spread. Merchants carried their faith with their goods. Technologies too, like those improved saddles we mentioned.
But this connection, it had a downside too, didn't it?
A very dark side. The same routes that carried silk and ideas also carried disease. Most devastatingly, the bubonic plague.
The Black Death. We'll definitely circle back to that. Okay, so the Silk Roads are key. But then there's this other massive player that kind of changes the game, the Mongol Empire.
Right. And Genghis Khan isn't maybe the first name you think of when you think boosting trade.
Huh. No, probably conquest comes to mind first.
Understandably, I mean, the rise of the empire under Temujin Genghis Khan starting around 1206 was definitely built on military might.
They were incredibly effective, weren't they?
Phenomenally. Their organization armies in units of 10, 100, and 1,000, very disciplined. Plus, advanced weapons like composite bows, incredible horsemanship.
And a fearsome reputation?
Undeniably. Events like the Siege of Baghdad in 1258 cemented that. Brutal efficiency. They often emerged when older empires like the Abbasids or the Song dynasty were weakening. Good timing, you could say.
Okay, so conquest first, but then comes the twist.
Exactly. After the initial, often destructive conquests, the period of Mongol rule, the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol peace, actually led to a huge increase in trade and safety along the Silk Roads.
How did that work? More stability.
Precisely. They controlled this vast, contiguous land empire, one power ruling much of Eurasia. That meant less banditry, fewer borders to cross with different rules and taxes. Travel just became safer, more predictable.
So unified control was key.
Huge. But they also actively helped. They've built bridges, improved roads. Infrastructure mattered to them.
And that communication system, the YAM.
Ah, the YAM system, yes.
Yeah.
Basically a network of relay stations, like Pony Express stops. Riders could get fresh horses, rest, pass messages along incredibly quickly across the empire. Imagine how that helped administration and indirectly trade communication.
That's pretty sophisticated for the 13th century.
It really was. And what's also fascinating is how the Mongols valued skilled people.
How so?
They often spared artisans, engineers, scholars during conquests, and sometimes moved them deliberately to other parts of the empire where their skills were needed.
So a forced transfer of talent.
In a way, yes, but it led to this incredible cross-pollination of ideas and technologies.
Like what specifically? Give us some examples.
Okay, well, think about medical knowledge. Greek and Islamic medical texts and practices started moving westwards towards Europe during this time.
Wow, in numerals.
Arabic numerals, which actually originated in India, spread through the Islamic world, and then the Mongols helped push them towards Europe. Game changer for math and accounting.
Absolutely.
And even language. Genghis Khan adopted the Uyghur script for the Mongolian language.
Uyghur script.
Yeah, it became a sort of administrative lingua franca across parts of the empire, helping communication between people who spoke different languages.
So the Mongols, kind of paradoxically, ended up being massive facilitators of exchange.
Unexpected, but undeniable. They really connected the dots across Eurasia for a time.
Okay, from the land empire of the Mongols, let's shift focus to the water. The Indian Ocean Trade Network. This also saw a massive boom between 1200 and 1450.
It really did. Maritime trade wasn't new, but it hit another level in this period.
What drove that?
Well, a few things came together. As the Mongol Empire started to break apart in the 14th century, those overland routes maybe became a bit less reliable, less uniformly safe.
Pushing more trade towards the sea lanes.
Potentially, yeah. Plus, you still had those improvements in commercial practices. We talked about money, credit applying to maritime trade, too.
But the big story on the ocean is technology, isn't it?
Absolutely. Navigation got a huge boost. The magnetic compass became more widespread.
Essential for finding your way on the open sea.
And the astrolabe for figuring out latitude. Then you have ship design itself,
Yeah.
the lateen sail.
The triangular one.
Yeah, it lets ships sail more effectively against the wind, or at least tack into it. Hugely important for flexibility.
And understanding the weather patterns.
Crucial. Knowledge of the monsoon winds, those predictable seasonal wind shifts across the Indian Ocean was vital. Sailors learned to ride them out and back.
So planning your voyage around the monsoons.
Exactly. Get the timing right, and the winds do a lot of the work. And shipbuilding improved too. Think of the Chinese junk ships' massive cargo capacity.
Right.
And the Arab dhows also adapted for carrying more goods. Very maneuverable. It all made sea trade more efficient, more profitable.
And this boom led to the rise of powerful port cities and states.
For sure.
Yeah.
Along the East African coast, you get the Swahili city-states.
Like Kilwa, Mombasa.
Exactly. They got wealthy trading goods from the African interior gold, ivory, sadly, also enslaved people, linking them into the wider Indian Ocean network.
And their conversion to Islam was important too.
Yes, it connected them culturally and economically to the broader Islamic world. You see it in their architecture, the mosques.
Okay. And elsewhere. Malacca.
Malacca is key. Situated on the Strait of Malacca, that narrow passage between the Malay Peninsula and Sumatra.
A major choke point for trade.
The choke point, really, between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. By controlling it, Malacca could tax passing ships and became incredibly wealthy and powerful, a vital hub.
And Gujarat in India.
Another major player, western coast of India.
Yeah.
Great location, productive hinterland. They traded textiles, indigo, lots of goods. Tax trade heavily, too.
It seems controlling these strategic spots was the path to power.
Definitely a major factor. Geography really mattered.
Our sources also talk about diaspora communities being important. What was their role?
Yeah, this is really interesting. You had communities of merchants living far from their homelands, Arabs and Persians in Southeast Asia, Chinese merchants in various ports, Malay communities.
So expats setting up shop.
Essentially, yes. They acted as crucial go-betweens. They understood different cultures, languages, business practices. They kept the trade networks humming and maintained their own cultural traditions abroad, while also adapting a bit to local ways.
The human glue holding the network together.
That's a good way to put it. And speaking of the Indian Ocean, we have to mention Zhenhe.
Ah, the Ming voyages. Those massive Chinese fleets.
Truly enormous. 7 voyages in the early 15th century. The main goal was probably diplomatic, bringing states into China's tributary system, demonstrating Ming power.
But they must have involved trade and exchange, too.
Oh, absolutely. Cultural exchange, for sure, and technological. Zhenhe's treasure ships were state-of-the-art, armed with gunpowder cannons. That tech spread through the Indian Ocean afterwards.
Okay, so a major maritime power flex, but with ripple effects. Now let's journey from the sea to the sand, the trans-Saharan trade routes.
Across the Great Desert, another vital network connecting North Africa with West Africa.
And the key player here wasn't a ship, but an animal.
The Arabian camel, or rather, the dromedary, the one-humped camel, absolutely indispensable.
They've been around for a while, but something changed in this period.
Yes, improvements in camel saddles were critical. Different designs were developed, some better for riding, others specifically for carrying heavy loads, distributing the weight better.
So, like with the Silk Roads, saddle tech mattered.
It really did. It meant camels could carry more, travel further, making the whole operation more efficient. And just like on the Silk Road, you had caravanserai, those rest stops, dotted along the routes for shelter and water.
Essential in that environment. So, better transport.
Yeah.
What were they moving across the Sahara?
It was largely driven by what different regions had and needed. The big one was gold. West Africa had lots of it.
And North Africa wanted it. What went south?
Salt. Hugely important for preserving food and for health, especially in the hotter climates south of the desert where it wasn't readily available. West Africa needed salt from the north.
So, a gold for salt trade, primarily.
That was the core of it, yeah. But other things moved too. Kola nuts from West Africa were popular in the north. Horses went south. It fueled the rise of powerful empires in West Africa.
And the big one in this period is Mali.
The Mali Empire, absolutely. Its wealth and power were directly linked to its control over the trans-Saharan trade routes passing through its territory.
And their conversion to Islam played a role.
A very significant role. It plugged Mali into the wider Islamic world's economic and scholarly networks, shared legal frameworks, trusts based on shared religion. It facilitated trade with North African Muslims.
And they taxed the trade passing through.
Heavily. They controlled access to the gold fields and taxed the merchants moving goods north and south. That gold export made Mali incredibly wealthy.
Which brings us to Mansa Musa.
Ah, Mansa Musa, the emperor of Mali. His Hajj, his pilgrimage to Mecca in the early 14th century, legendary.
Why? What was so special about it?
The sheer scale and wealth on display. He traveled with this enormous entourage. Thousands of people, hundreds of camels laden with gold.
Just tons of gold.
So much gold that when he passed through Egypt and spent lavishly, he apparently caused runaway inflation there. The value of gold dropped because he'd pumped so much into the economy.
Wow. That really illustrates Mali's wealth, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It put Mali, quite literally, on the map for Europeans in the Middle East. A clear demonstration of the riches flowing across the Sahara.
Okay, so we've seen these networks moving goods, enabling empires, but they were also highways for culture, weren't they? Let's dig into the cultural consequences.
Yeah, this is where you really see the blending and spreading of ideas, beliefs, art, and science too.
Let's take religion first. Buddhism spreading east.
Right. Buddhism traveled along the Silk Roads into China, but it didn't just arrive unchanged. It interacted with existing Chinese philosophies, particularly Taoism.
Leading to new forms.
Exactly. You get Chan Buddhism developing in China, which then travels to Japan and evolves further into Zen Buddhism. It's a great example of syncretism blending and adapting.
And in Southeast Asia, Hinduism and Buddhism arrived there too, right?
Yes, primarily via the Indian Ocean trade and also some land routes. This influenced powerful states like the Khmer Empire in Cambodia and Srivijaya in Indonesia.
And you see it in their monuments.
Definitely. Think of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, originally Hindu, later Buddhist, or Borobudur in Java, a massive Buddhist monument. They fuse Indian religious ideas with local artistic styles and beliefs. Incredible fusion.
And Islam spread. We mentioned Mali and the Swahili coast.
Crucial examples. On the Swahili coast, the interaction between Arab and Persian merchants and local Bantu-speaking populations led to the emergence of the Swahili civilization and language itself, a blend of Bantu grammar and Arabic vocabulary, a direct result of maritime trade connections.
It's amazing how language itself can reflect that exchange. What about knowledge transfer? Philosophy, science.
Hugely important. Islamic scholars during their golden age preserved and translated many classical Greek and Roman texts, philosophy, science, medicine.
Which might otherwise have been lost.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
And eventually, through trade and interaction, especially in places like Spain and Sicily, this knowledge started filtering back into Southern Europe.
Laying groundwork for later European developments.
Absolutely. It provided a crucial intellectual toolkit that helped fuel the Renaissance centuries later.
And specific technologies. Gunpowder.
Gunpowder's a big one. Originates in China, spreads west via the Mongols and trade routes to the Islamic world, and then to Europe, completely changes warfare eventually.
And paper.
Paper-making technology, also from China, spreads westward, makes books cheaper, knowledge more accessible. Alongside movable type, which also came from China, it eventually contributes to rising literacy in Europe.
So a massive exchange of culture and tech.
Uh-huh.
But connectivity also impacted the environment, didn't it?
Yes, in both positive and negative ways. Let's start with the positive.
Crops, new foods moving around.
Exactly. Bananas, for example. They originated in Southeast Asia, made their way to Africa, likely via the Indian Ocean trade.
And they took off there.
They thrived, especially in wetter regions, provided a new, nutritious food source, which probably helped support population growth and maybe even the migrations of Bantu-speaking peoples.
Interesting. What else? Champa rice.
Ah, yes, champa rice. From Vietnam, it was fast-growing, drought-resistant, introduced to China.
And that had a big impact.
Huge. Allowed farmers to grow 2 crops a year instead of 1 in many areas. Led to a big increase in food production and a major population boom in Song China.
And citrus fruits moving west.
Yeah, things like lemons and oranges from the Middle East and Asia making their way into Europe, adding variety to diets.
Okay, so new crop spreading was a benefit.
Okay.
But the flip side, disease.
The major downside of all this movement, more people traveling, more goods moving, means diseases travel further and faster too.
And the big one, as we mentioned, was the bubonic plague.
The Black Death. It really highlights the double-edged sword of interconnectedness. It seems to have originated somewhere in Central Asia.
And spread how?
Along the trade routes. Fleas on rats, hitching rides on caravans along the Silk Roads, on ships crossing the Indian Ocean and Mediterranean.
So the very networks facilitating prosperity also facilitated disaster.
Tragically, yes. It reached the Middle East, North Africa, Europe by the mid-14th century. The death toll was just catastrophic, wiped out huge percentages of the population in many areas.
A stark reminder of the risks that come with global connection.
Definitely. It reshaped societies just as profoundly as the trade itself, but in a devastating way.
Okay, so we've looked at these different networks, Silk Roads, Mongols, Indian Ocean, Trans-Saharan. If we were to compare them, what are the big similarities and differences?
Well, connecting it all back, there are definitely common threads. All these networks grew because of better ways of doing business, stronger empires providing some stability, and key technologies, whether it's a camel saddle or a compass.
And cities were key everywhere.
Absolutely. Cities became these cosmopolitan hubs where exchange happened. You see the rise of merchant classes, elites getting wealthy from trade in all these regions. And as we discussed, they all spread religions and cultures.
But they weren't all the same, obviously.
No, clear differences. The Silk Roads, primarily overland, focused on high-value, low-weight, luxury goods. Think silk, gemstones.
Right. Indian Ocean.
Maritime. could handle bulkier goods, timber, textiles, rice, animals alongside luxuries, relied on monsoon winds and ship technology.
And Trans-Saharan.
Overland again, but through extreme desert, totally reliant on the camel. Focused on that specific gold-salt exchange, mainly. Different environments, different key goods, different transport.
And different dominant cultural influences in each zone, too, I suppose. We shouldn't forget regional trade within the Americas existed, too, though not connected to Afro-Eurasia yet.
A good point. Separate networks developing there. But looking at Afro-Eurasia, the overall economic impact was huge.
More specialization.
Yeah. Regions started specializing in what they produce best for export. You get this growing interdependence. It's like the very beginnings of, well, proto-globalization.
And it fueled city growth.
Big time. Urban centers boomed, created some social mobility, opportunities for merchants, and it strengthened states that could effectively control and tax all this commercial activity.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it's really clear that 1200 to 1450 was just this incredibly dynamic period of connection.
Absolutely pivotal. These networks were the arteries of Afro-Eurasia, pumping not just goods, but ideas, innovations, people, and, yes, pathogens, too.
It wasn't just about economics. It reshaped culture, society, even the environment.
Indeed. And when you think about our world today, so hyper-connected, you can really see the echoes of these earlier patterns, can't you?
You really can. The benefits of exchange, the speed of transmission, both good and bad, it resonates.
The fundamental dynamics are entirely different, just accelerated and scaled up.
It definitely gives you something to think about the long history of our interconnected world. Maybe take some time after this to look into some of the people who live these connections.
Like Ibn Battuta, the incredible Moroccan traveler who visited almost the entire known Islamic world and beyond.
Or Zheng He commanding those giant fleets. Or Mansa Musa making his golden Hajj.
Yeah, their individual stories really bring this era of exchange to life.
A great suggestion. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.